This is Liam Garcia, and today we're dropping two bombshells that are going to send Red Nation into an absolute meltdown. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do it right now, and smash that like button before I even finish this sentence, because what we've got coming up is way too heavy to miss. The season is over, but the questions remain. Does this young core have a real future, or is it just sweet talk from the front office? And were last offseason's decisions brilliant, or a massive mistake that's going to cost them down the line? Stick around, because today we aren't holding anything back. All right, let's start with the topic that's splitting the fan base right down the middle. After a first-round exit in the 2026 playoffs against the Lakers, with Kevin Durant playing basically just one single game the entire series because of a bone bruise in his ankle, the Rockets packed their bags early once again. And it wasn't against some fully loaded super team either. It was against a Lakers squad missing Luka Doncic all season and without Austin Reeves for the first 4 games. Hurts to even think about it, right? But what came out after the elimination was even more revealing. High-ranking sources within the organization, reported by ESPN's Tim McMahon and Ramona Shelburne, have openly stated that the Rockets front office still believes their young core has what it takes to contend for a championship for the next 10 years. A decade. That's no small claim. They also said Ime Udoka will continue to be a foundational piece for the team's future. Durant too. Yeah, you heard that right. But hold on. Let's look at what this core actually delivered in the series against the Lakers before we buy into all of that. Alperen Sengun was the brightest spot, averaging 20.3 points, 10.2 rebounds, and 4.7 assists. Consistent, productive, stepping up exactly when needed. Amen Thompson showed genuine growth, putting up 19.2 points, 7 boards, and 5.7 dimes per game, stepping into the point guard role even though it's not his natural position. Tari Eason delivered efficiency, 13.8 points with almost 59% true shooting. That is elite. Now here comes the other side of the coin. Jabari Smith Jr. was inconsistent, shooting just 38.8% from the floor. Reed Shepherd, who they banked on so heavily during the regular season, completely fell apart in the playoffs, hitting only 29.6% from deep, with a true shooting percentage of 40.7%. Those are the numbers of a guy who folded under maximum pressure, man. And right here lies the central flaw in this next 10 years narrative. Because this exact same organization, just last summer, publicly stated how much they believed in Jalen Green. They pounded their chests over it. And 2 months later, they shipped him off to the Phoenix Suns. So when the team's brass makes these kinds of statements, we need to take it with a grain of salt. It's not pessimism. It's just recent memory. Now think about it. The average NBA career lasts about 4.5 years. This current core has already been together for a few years. The clock is ticking. And the Spurs, who were compared to Houston for years, already racked up 62 wins this season and proved they're way ahead in their rebuilding process. The Thunder? Champions. Coming back as favorites. The Rockets keep racking up experience but still haven't made that definitive leap. The front office's faith is cute, but faith without concrete results eventually requires answers. And the fan base is already starting to demand them. And that wasn't even the most shocking part of the week. Because while the fans were still trying to digest the elimination, GM Rafael Stone sat down in front of the press at the end-of-season conference and dropped an answer that left a lot of jaws on the floor regarding one of the biggest issues of the season, the lack of a true point guard. Remember when Fred VanVleet tore his ACL before the season even tipped off? That was the turning point nobody wanted, but everyone had to face. Without VanVleet, the Rockets had no one to handle the rock consistently, run half-court sets, or dictate the pace of the offense. The result was a season plagued by excessive turnovers, terrible shot creation, and an absurd reliance on raw physicality. and everybody knows that physicality alone doesn't get it done in the playoffs. So the million-dollar question was, why didn't the Rockets hit the market for a point guard, even when they had plenty of time to make a move? Stone answered, and get a load of what he said. He claimed that, philosophically, he doesn't believe in trading for a point guard just for the sake of having a point guard. According to him, he'd rather improvise and build with what they have than bring in a guy who can move the ball but plays zero defense and turns into a turnstile on the other end. Sounds reasonable in theory, right? But in practice, what the Rockets actually had running the show were Amen Thompson and Reed Sheppard. Two young guys still trying to figure out what it means to run an offense at the highest level. Thompson evolved a lot. You can't take that away from him. But he's not a natural floor general, and he was thrown into the fire in that role. Sheppard had some reps coming out of Kentucky, but he struggled the way any rookie struggles when the bright lights really come on. The result? The Lakers doubled down on isolation matchups and crashing the glass, and Houston simply had no answer. No VanVleet, no playmaking, no way out. And you know what's most telling? The 2 point guards the Rockets looked at during the deadline were Kobe White and Ayo Dosunmu. Dosunmu, by the way, is actually considered a solid defender with good shooting splits. But Stone decided neither of them was worth the asking price. That the timing was wrong. That any short-term move could derail the long-term vision. The problem is, you've got Kevin Durant on the roster, and he's turning 38 next season. There really isn't that much long-term left to capitalize on KD's window. And even so, the front office chose to play it safe. Stone wrapped up by saying their big bet now is on VanVleet's return in 2026-27 being the ultimate difference maker, alongside the internal development of Thompson and Sheppard. They're just crossing their fingers that FVV, who will be 32 and coming off ACL surgery, shows up at 100% and delivers exactly what the organization expects. That is a ton of pressure to put on one guy coming off such a devastating injury. So that's where we're at, guys. The front office is betting the house on this young core for the next decade, but the actual results on the court still aren't convincing anybody. And the very same GM who refused to roll the dice on a point guard trade is now putting all his chips on VanVleet coming back fully healthy from a torn ACL. Those are two massive gambles, and both come with huge risks. Are the Rockets actually building a championship roster, or are they just repeating the same mistakes in different packaging? Was the decision to sit out the point guard market a smart strategy, or just laziness disguised as philosophy? Sound off in the comments, because I really want to see this debate. Hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.